All right. All right, everybody. We'll give you guys about a minute to sign in here. And sorry about that. Well, I guess we have an ad playing. I don't know why. There we go. Okay, now you got me? All right, good. All right, well, welcome, Cowboys, Cowgirls, and Outlaws. Welcome to the Slick Sixguns Network. We have Dry Socket on here.
Howdy.
Yeah, go ahead and say hello there, Dry Socket.
Howdy. Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And we have this live stream today, and we're trying to get as many guests as we can on kind of throughout the year. Typically, what we do in these live streams is we'll go ahead and introduce the person. And just to let you guys know, go ahead and subscribe to his channel down in the description section. He can talk a little bit more about his channel as we go on, but he's a good friend of ours. Check him out. He does a lot of the same content or similar. So thanks you for tuning in. So, Dry Socket, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, your personal, professional, and your Western shooting life?
Sounds like a plan. So my name is Dry Socket. I guess we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute, but grew up mostly out on the West Coast, California, Oregon. My grandmother had a horse ranch. My grandfather was an avid shooter. I think he got me a lifetime NRA membership when I was 4 years old. So kind of grew up around firearms and, love shooting. Have always been a big fan of that. Had a range out where I live in Oregon that had a cowboy town for cowboy action. I never quite knew what it was, but I was always interested. And when I got older, started looking into it, I was like, man, that is something that I want to do. I've always liked kind of like the Western aesthetic. I've liked the Western guns. So, cowboy action just seemed like a natural fit to get in there. Professionally, I'm a dentist. Don't hold that against me. Doc Holliday was also a dentist. So, I'm in some kind of company there. I don't have tuberculosis though, as far as I know, and hopefully never get it. But yeah, that's a little about me. And like Slick said, I do a lot of content relating to kind of the rules of firearms, the categories, kind of different breakdowns on cowboy action. And when I started, I would look for videos on people doing cowboy action. Really, the only ones I found were people that were like world champion shooters or just really, really good. And I was like, man, this is a little bit frustrating to watch because I'm at the beginning and I don't even know the rules, let alone how to do what they're doing. So I try to focus on, kind of for a beginner, kind of show you what mediocre looks like. So if that's something that you're interested in, please check me out.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool. You mentioned you're a dentist. Now you open a can of worms. Why'd you want to do dentistry? Let's talk about that.
It's simple. My wife made me do it. I did what most dentists, I have the classic background that I majored in human communication. I got a degree in that. So with that, I opened a martial arts school and I taught martial arts and MMA for about 8 years, until my knees exploded. And then my wife said, you need to go to dental school. And I've been married long enough to know not to question her. So I did. Her dad is a dentist. The original plan was I would go work for him, but he retired while I was in school. So, graduated, kind of had to start my own thing. And now I own kind of a surgical practice in Southern Oregon. Kind of do a lot of extractions, implants, that type of thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. MMA, huh?
Yeah, another can of worms.
Yeah, another can of worms. Why don't we keep going on that? Tell us a little bit how you got into martial arts, kind of when you started. We got 7 people watching now, so we're starting to get a crowd.
So let's
get
see.
into that.
I started that kind of late. I was maybe 19, 20, something around there. And a lot of my friends that I grew up with had all ended up in this Taekwondo school. And they were always like, yeah, you should join. And I was like, not for me. But eventually I was like, man, everyone I know goes to this school. So I'm like, I feel like I'm missing out on activity. So I signed up. I did that. I liked it quite a bit. It's again, there's sort of like a theatrical element, it's competition based. It's kind of a fun thing that kind of fits my personality and whatnot. So I did okay at it. And then one of my friends opened this school down on the coast, and he was like, I really need somebody to help. And you're it. I was like, all right. So I started kind of teaching for him. And while we were there, there was a promoter that was getting, there was a casino nearby, and he was trying to get some, this was like at the heyday of UFC Pride type stuff. He was trying to get some local level fights together. So he comes in and he's talking to my friend, and I see them like kind of pointing at me. So, wave or whatever. And what my friend is doing is the guy came in and said, hey, I need somebody to fight this other guy at this casino in a couple weeks. You got anyone that would do it? And he was like, oh yeah, Paul will do it. He'll do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. So he signed me up for an MMA fight. And I ended up doing that. I did okay. Kind of got the bug for that. Did a couple of those. This would be 99 through 2001 or anything like that.
Okay.
There exists a video of me online somewhere getting knocked out, not by a person, but by the cage. And yeah, I did that until I moved up to Portland area, and I took over a school that was like 90% kids. And it did not make any sense for me to be like, hey, you guys train karate not to fight, but I'm going to go fight on the weekend. So I kind of gave it up back then. But I knew a lot of people through it, so we had an MMA program in the school, and I did some cornering for some people and some different things in the early 2000s. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the just to let you guys know, if you have a question for Dry Socket, go ahead and drop it in the comments section, and we'll put your question on the screen, and then he can answer it directly. But just want to let you guys know that. Yeah, that's pretty neat. I am not a MMA fighter. I did a little.
I am not either. Just for
know.
clarity, I just did some. That's all.
Okay. Well, I did a little jujitsu when I was a little younger, and I started. I didn't really go anywhere with it because honestly, getting your butt kicked is just like it's a great workout, and it's all about the practice, as you well know. But it's just the physical beat up of your body every time, and
Yeah.
I cracked a couple ribs, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even winning, and I cracked ribs here. It's like I kind of want to do something else. So, but
For
that's
sure. It's
cool.
like the period that I had the martial arts school. I ran that for about 8 years, and I don't think there was a day in there where I didn't have something that hurt. I always had like a broken finger or a broken toe or a sprained this or sprained that. It's just like that whole period. I wouldn't consider I was like healthy at any point. So dentistry is a lot easier on the body most days than that
That's
stuff.
good. What's the most common thing that you have to do other than a teeth cleaning?
Oh, well, I have a hygienist for that. I don't
Oh,
think.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
so you're the okay.
yeah, I'm mainly surgical focused. So I have like an associate that does like the normal like dentistry filling stuff, and I focus primarily on taking teeth out, which is sort of where the alias dry socket comes from, because that's a relatively common complication. You're always telling people like, okay, to avoid dry socket, blah 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 blah. So I was like, dry socket, that's a good alias right there.
Yeah, I was actually that's leads into my next question. So thank you for bringing that up because when I read that the first time, I'm like, who picks that kind of name? Like, I'm like my first thought that came to that was it had to do with teeth. I didn't think you were a dentist, but now that you say that, so that is the reason, right? You
Yeah.
have you
I was looking for something dental themed because also like big Tombstone fan, big Doc Holliday fan. So I was like, and a lot of the aliases that I'd seen from other people, like there's a guy that shoots that runs the Merlin Club, who is rock star, and he's a musician. So it's like, oh, I want something that kind of speaks to dentistry. So it was between that and my other one was Carious George. But I was like, I don't think enough people know what dental caries is I didn't just end up explaining it all the time. So I was like, nah, I'll flip that, go with dry socket. Then I'm also, I'm like straight edge. I don't drink, smoke, do drugs, anything like that. So the dry sort of had double meaning. So I was like, yeah, this will be
okay.
good.
Okay.
And then I can
Well,
find like all these weird little tooth tooth
Oh,
accoutrements for the cowboy
oh,
stuff. I have a lot of
oh,
fun with.
nice. There you go. I didn't even see that, but that's a nice little addition you got there. Got a question from the audience here, from Steven Sheets. Says, have you watched any Western movies? Why don't we take that a little bit further and I'll add on to that. Which one is your favorite?
You know, I knew you were going to ask me that. So I was thinking about it because I'm always putting on, like, I have a shop where, I work on my cowboy action stuff, but I have, several other hobbies that I'm doing out here, and I'm always throwing movies on the background. A lot of times they're Western. So I was like, okay, my favorite ones are probably going to be the ones I watch the most. Which ones are those? So I came up with two. One, this is my VHS copy of Tombstone. Because even though I don't know that this is the best Western movie, this is probably my most watched Western movie. It's just, again, it has Doc Holliday in there, huge Doc Holliday fan. It's just so good. One of the guys I shoot with out in Umpqua actually stunt doubled Johnny Ringo in that film, and he's been in a lot of the. If there's an old Western movie, of that time period, and someone fell off a horse, it was probably that guy.
Okay.
So he's just an old West stuntman guy. So I see it. I'm always looking at those Johnny Ringo scenes. It's like, okay, is that him there? Maybe, different things. So I love that one. Unforgiven is up there. The original Magnificent Seven. Honestly, the new Magnificent Seven is also pretty good. But my other pick, my non-traditional pick that I find myself watching all the time, that's not quite a traditional Western, but this Bruce Willis Last Man Standing movie, I couldn't find it because it was in the DVD player. I watch it all the time. It's such a great movie. And when you think about the time period now, that we're in 2026, it's like, well, now the guns in that are like over 100 years old and things like that. So that's my other one. Christopher Walken's in there. He has Thompson submachine gun. It's just a fun movie. Only time you'll see someone dual wield 1911s and do a double magazine change that makes sense. You're like, wow, that's like some John Wick level stuff.
Yeah, John Wick before it was John Wick, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, I'd have to say, I have a couple favorites. Honestly, I would have to say one of my favorites is actually a newer one. I wouldn't call it revisionist Western. It's going to be Hostels. I
okay,
don't know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That is a great one.
yeah. I think Christian Bale did a good job in that. And then you kind of get the backstory of him and all that stuff. And I think just the appearance of the cavalry in that movie, just the wear, what they wore. They're aside from the fact that I think he carries a 73, which yes and no. Um,
Do you
just
find yourself
because,
doing that a lot when you're watching an old movie and be like, wait a minute, they shouldn't have that yet?
yeah, not yet, because I think it's set in like 1870 or just before. I don't know. Um, it's post Civil War. I know that, but I think it's a good movie. That's one of my favorites. If I were pressed to say what's another favorite of mine, um, a Silverado is a good one in my
Yeah.
opinion. Just because of the action in it. They did a really good job with it. I think Kevin Costner is that was kind of his debut on westerns, and he just knocks it out of the park. He's kind of that crazy young guy, and
How'd you feel about Horizon?
I have not seen the second part, so
Is the second part out?
I thought it was. I could be
I don't
wrong.
know.
Because I know that came out a couple years ago.
But yeah,
So
yeah, and I think it was supposed
yeah.
to be three parts if I remember right. But
Okay. No, I think it's interesting. I I as if I'm correct, the storyline is basically about a woman that runs away. Um, and I know there's like some other stories mixed in there. I think it's got like a cavalry guy who falls in love with some girl who's lost her husband, and then some prostitute runs away from some
it
bad
sounds right.
family. Yeah. So I don't want to give it away to the audience, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was good. I really did.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it is a good show.
I thought the opening kind of scene with where they're kind of holding the town against attack, and some of the stuff and how they're doing that, and kind of the guns in there, like really opening scenes. I was like, man, this is great. And then it sort of was one of those ones where I wish it was 20 minutes shorter, and I think it would be like I'd want to watch it more.
Yeah. Was it a
Just
really
kind of,
long show? I can't remember. Was
yeah.
it like two?
I don't know if it was too long or it just felt like it dragged at times, but
Yeah.
I'll have to look up if that part 2 is out now.
Yeah. Well, no, that's something for you and me to figure out. But so I think you probably covered this, but I want you to go ahead and talk about it again. So what caused you to join the Western shooting sports?
Yeah, so when I think up kind of to Portland, I was looking for, this is after I did the martial arts. And when I was in martial arts, there was, tournaments and competitions like all the time. Every couple of months, I was training for something or doing something or taking some people to something. So I like to do that kind of competitive thing. And I wanted to find something else that I could do, but I could do sort of, solo, and I could, practice on my own time. So firearm stuff made the most sense. So I looked around at what was, what we had in the area, and they had a pretty active 3-gun scene. So I was like, oh, let's go to the gun safe. What do I got? I was like, a shotgun. I got an AR. I got a Glock. I could do 3-gun, right? So I went and I went down there, and I went a couple times, and it wasn't welcoming. I kind of felt like, a beginner was sort of frowned upon. Like I'm slowing people down. It seemed like, people would just gawk at like what you had, like, oh, you got a Glock, you're not going to do good with that or whatever. It's just like, this is what I have, like I'm a college student at the moment. I can't really get anything else at the time. So I just didn't love it. But while I was there, one of the times I was there, the Cowboy Club was also there. So it kind of reminded me of back where I lived in Southern Oregon, like that cowboy facade, that cowboy town. I was like, oh, I should look into that. So I started kind of watching videos and things, and I was like, do I have any guns that qualify? The only gun I had that would qualify was an 1887 shotgun. So I was like, okay, well, I have one, that's a start. So I put away, I ended up buying a Henry Big Boy, which it's not a great gun for cowboy action, but it was affordable. So that was what I got. And then when I graduated and I moved down, I bought a pair of revolvers, and I was like, I'm going to start cowboy action. But I made the mistake of watching a bunch of videos by Jedi Knight, which they were great videos, and he is a wonderful shooter. And it had all these people in there that are like, amazing, just absolutely amazing. And I realized the range that they were shooting at is the range down here. And I was like, oh, all these people, I'm not good enough to go shoot with them. I got to practice. So I started going to the range by myself and trying to do, cowboy action, like at the pistol range with, it just trying to practice, but it wasn't real practice. It just kind of scared me off for a while. I eventually went and realized I did wasted a whole year like by not going, because it was most welcoming people, nicest people. Everybody is just like, what do you got? Okay, here's some pointers. Do you want to try my stuff? Here, you might like this. Let's get you this. Oh, this guy is selling holsters that would probably fit you. He'll let them go really cheap. It's just such a welcoming community. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of my people. So then, kind of that thought process of like, well, Jedi in a way kept me out for a year just by being too good. I'm going to put up some videos and show people what not good looks like. And that's kind of what I've been doing. It's just like you can go back to my very first video on the channel as one of my very first runs, and you can, watch chronologically, like I'm getting a little better, a little better, a little better. And I'm now solidly mediocre, which is great. And if I stay there, that's fine, so long as I'm having fun doing it.
Great. Now, since you brought up Jedi TV, which he may or may not be watching, not sure, have you shot with him?
I have never actually shot with him. He lived down here. A lot of the videos that he filmed on his channel were down here. He has a video, the women's EOT overall top shooter is Polly Wanda Cracker this year, who I shoot with all the time. She's like one of the fastest people with a gun you can imagine. But I was watching his channel recently, and he has some of videos of her from her very first matches, like when she first started, and it's like, oh, maybe there is hope for me, because she started out not as good as she is now. But Jedi moved up to Washington before I came into the place, so I've never met him, but I've met many of the people that are featured on some of his videos. Purgatory Smith, Lead Hammer, Rockstar Polly, a lot of those people are still the people that are down here. Just never come across Jedi, but we have our state match at the range near me this year in May. So if he's down there for that, I will probably finally meet him.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, tell him I said hello.
will
I
do.
comment on his videos quite a bit, but we've never actually met. Um, but that's awesome. Yeah, as far as like me, when it comes into actually getting into cowboy action, and when I started, I had an interest starting back in about 2015 timeframe. Um, and I started as you did. I watched a few videos. I honestly didn't even think about three gun, modern three gun. I strictly wanted something that was cowboy action. Um, and I found a few videos online back in the early days, and it was like a cowboy action promo video, which I'm sure is still there.
I think I know
Um,
exactly what you're talking about too.
yeah, and it featured like Santa Fe River Stand and all that, and then uh, and then I watched one video. I don't know if the guy's alive anymore, which is kind of sad to say. Grizzly Dave. I don't know if you're familiar with the channel. He doesn't make content anymore, which makes me think I don't think he's here. But he did a really good intro video back in 2015 on cowboy action, and that got me into it. I was hooked. And so I started, but well, I bought a lot of the wrong gear. You know, I, I,
Too.
yeah, I started with a big boy, went to my first match with a big boy. Then everyone wasn't shooting a big boy. And so I said, I'm going to go get something that's a little more Western. So I switched out for a 66. Um, I started with a Stoger 20 gauge, which I still have now, and I do use from time to time. And then my pistols, I did have a Ruger Blackhawk, but I switched to Ruger New Vaqueros. So, and I've been with those ever since. But I switch. But see, I know you shoot a category, and why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about that?
Well, I shoot. So right now I'm shooting a classic cowboy, and one of the things that really drew me to SASS in general was the costuming. So I like to spend half the year shooting like classic cowboy or B Western, and then the other half of the year I want to just try to go fast, and I'll just shoot my regular age division, and you just put two hands on the gun and make it go faster. But classic cowboy is just really the first thing that when I was watching somebody's video on the breakdown, I thought everybody did that, and I was like, oh, this is, you wear all these different pieces of flair, and you slap the levers back on your coach gun, and all those things. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then when I read the shooter's handbook and things like that, it's like, oh, this is its own thing, its own category. Well, when I started going to the matches and things, one of the things you find out is it's like, well, category selection is almost as important of anything else if you want to be competitive. So if there's less people in a division, it's like, well, I'm shooting the slower guns, but I'm shooting the slower guns against less people. It kind of works out for me. So I've really enjoyed it. Sometimes, I'll win something on the costume side of it, which is great. So it gives you like another way to compete. And honestly, like, I mentioned that 1887 was, a gun I already had. It's because it's like my favorite gun. So it's like, well, I can shoot this in this division and, actually compete against other people that are shooting, slower shotguns. Because a regular your Stoker coach gun would blow me out of the water, 9 times out of 10 with it.
Mm. Yeah, the so with me when I first got into it, I originally was thinking about classic cowboy. But then I realized I didn't have any of the I had like one gun that would work for the category, but then realized I had to buy 4 more. And I'm like, I already bought 4 guns. I don't have the
Yeah.
money. And so I had to go with the age-based categories. And then my favorite, I'm sure we'll get into this, but basically I switch guns all the time. There isn't a single gun I use that I'm proficient with 100%. Um, if I do really want to go fast, and I know people are gonna correct me or say, well, that's all you need. And I do have a 73 that I shoot
Yeah.
relatively fast. Now I will say this, obviously practice is kind of one of those things that plays into it. You do enough upgrades, you can kind of increase your time, and I found that I could do that. So, um, but ironically, I have I don't know if you're familiar with them, but the Moroku Winchester 73s. Do you have
Mhm.
one?
I do.
Okay. In your opinion, and because my opinion is that a slicked up Winchester 73 from Uberti and a Moroku Winchester 73 are pretty darn close right out of the
Yeah, I'd
box.
agree with that. $100,
Okay.
even
Yeah.
100%.
Yes, and you can, in my opinion, I think you could run the Uberti a little faster as long as you had the practice.
If you've
Um,
got, a short stroke kit, a flat trigger, like a lever lock, it would be a negligible difference, shooting those two guns. Now, if you put all of those in one and none of them in the other, it's going to be whatever has the upgrades.
yeah, no, I got you, but yeah, that's great. And so you do be Western from time to time, don't you, as well?
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of when we'll have our state match in May, and that's kind of when I make my switch, and I'll either go into B Western or go into just age based, kind of depending on what I'm feeling like. I haven't really decided what I'll do, but I've been wanting, and I experimented with doing some Gunfighter last year that went horribly, but I kind of want to do B Western and shoot at Gunfighter, and then. I need to get a better rifle for it. Is the only thing. I'm shooting a Rossi 92 that I've done all the things that you can possibly do to a Rossi 92, and I can still outrun it because it's just the stroke is just so massively long in comparison to what I'm used to. So debating getting a Marlin, but it's like, do I need to buy another gun? I mean, the answer is I want to buy another gun, but is it a financially viable choice at the moment? I just bought a bunch of stuff for Plainsman, so it's like I gotta wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, no, that's interesting. I haven't shot Plainsman. I would love to shoot it, but mostly I usually shoot the regular matches, and on occasion I will shoot the long distance. And we'll talk about that more. But since we're kind of on the topic of guns, why don't you tell me a little bit more about the different guns you have and what do you use?
So I'll kind of go through what I have for Classic Cowboy because it's what I'm shooting right now. I like to shoot different stuff. I have most of the guns that are legal in Cowboy Action, but what I'm shooting right now is that 1887 12 gauge shotgun, and I fell in love with that gun because of Terminator 2 and Arnold Schwarzenegger riding on the motorcycle doing the flip cock. So when I found that gun I think it was at a gun show for $250, I was like, I gotta buy this. So I bought it, and then I went home and I tried to do the flip cock, and I almost broke my fingers because I didn't know that they made his his lever loop a little bit bigger so he could do that. But just always loved that gun. And there's a guy by the name of Lassiter that makes a modification. Some other people make it where you can just drop two shells in it and you can get it going really fast. Well, my old 1887, which is I know it's a Chinese one. I can't remember who made it or whatnot. Doesn't have that modification.
Hmm.
So I bought one of Lassiter's, and it's great and has that modification. I cannot for the life of me make it work for me. I gum it up every time I try to load it. So even though I have this nice one that I paid all this money for, it sits in my gun cabinet, and I run my old junky one that I got at a gun show many years ago because it works. I'm getting the ammunition into it. It's getting faster. It's not a true drop tube, and I'm making it work for me. So I run that, and that's kind of the big thing that is a little bit different. Most people don't shoot that gun. I shoot for my pistols. I shoot Ruger new model Vaqueros because I just really like them a little bit more than the 73 and the 73 clones. I don't know if it's just that you don't have to put it on half cock to, you open the loading gate and you can load. Something about that I just like more. So I shoot those, and I shoot them in 7.5-inch barrels, because classic cowboy is not about going fast. It's about looking cool. So, just shooting that duelist style with that big gun. It also gets me a little closer to the target. I just really like that. So I've gone back and forth shooting double duelist or shooting, single duelist. Haven't decided exactly which one I like better, but if you check out my channel, I'm try them both, change my holsters and everything. And then for the rifle, I actually just switched to an Uberti 73 because I could not find a flat trigger for my 66, and I really wanted to shoot a flat trigger. And there used to be a guy named T-Bone that would make one, but it's one of the few components between the 66 and the 73 that's not exactly the same, because your 73, it's like a half trigger, and then on the a 2-part trigger rather, and on the 73 it's all, or on the 66 is all 1 part. So I couldn't find one, so I'm shooting a 73 now, but the flat trigger has really dropped maybe half a second off my stage times on my rifle string. So that's kind of the loadout, and I go back and forth between a double strong side holster and a cross draw holster, just depending on if I'm doing it all right-handed or using both hands. But I have a lot of fun with it. We've got that state match coming up, and my goal is really to get a podium finish in Classic Cowboy. And I'm feeling decent about it, but there's some really good people that have been doing it way longer than me in that division for Classic Cowboy. So we'll see. But my last match, I only had 2 misses, so that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, the talk about shooting in style. I'll just kind of give 2 things here. First, have you ever shot a stage with a Spencer before?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I have. Do you know what a Spencer is?
I think, but refresh me.
Spencer is a repeater that loads from the back instead of like the front magazine.
Okay, yeah.
Or the side loading gate, and
that is style.
And you can't you cannot cock it just with one motion. You have to cock with the hammer first, and then you basically go to the bottom, rack one in, fire, and repeat the cycle all over again. And there's a couple videos I have on it, but I do that strictly for style points, and no one else at my club shoots a Spencer. So, and then I also, have you ever tried using a single shot shotgun for
well, not for Cowboy Action.
Okay, well, they have, you can do it, unless they change the rules, but you can do it. You pick up just one of those single barrel ones, and the great thing about that is they're allowed to have ejectors.
The ejector, yeah.
And so you can eject their shell back into the RO's face, which is pretty funny. So, and they're not expecting it, and it's just like, deek. But yeah, no, I've done that a few times, but yeah, pretty cool.
What do you use for revolvers?
Well, I switch up between Colts. I have a Colt single action. I have 2 Colt single action armies, and then I also have a Uberti 1872 open top. The 72 open top is pretty decent because it's nickeled. And most of them, from what I've seen, are blued. And I do a lot of stuff for show. I'm not, like I said, I am not fast. I don't go for speed. If I want to, I'll try. But more often than not, I'm going to miss the target. Because I just don't practice enough. And I'm not afraid to admit that. But I want people to look at the guns and be like, oh my God, I wish I could have that,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's just kind of how,
part of it.
That's just how I am, I'm kind of a fancy guy, I guess, if you want to. Some girls like jewelry, and some guys just like pretty guns. Here you go, So that's just me. But anyway, what let's see. So correct me if I'm wrong. How many years have you done Cowboy?
I'm in my 3rd year shooting Cowboy.
Third
And
year.
that's
Okay.
not counting the year that I sort of was going to the range and had some of the guns and was watching cowboy videos. So like my first match was uh 3 Novembers ago.
Okay. And would you say that you do it every weekend, every other weekend? Like, when do you guys meet
I
up?
try to do it every other weekend. Sometimes, work or life gets in the way, but I try to go every other week. And what's great about the Southern Oregon area is there's like 5 clubs within 2.5 hours of me. So usually if I, have the drive to get up and, get in my car and go somewhere, there's a match every Saturday and Sunday somewhere close to me. So usually I can go every other week pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, we kind of have the same thing here in Texas. I try to. It's been a while since I've been to one, just because life has been so crazy. Um, but one day I'll get out there again. But we have like 3 or 4 clubs within an hour drive, so you could technically go every weekend. Um, do you participate in large matches or just club shoots?
So right now, so I've got a 3-year-old, and that limits kind of how long I can be gone and how far I can go. So I try to stick to whatever is in that little radius of those clubs. So like we usually host a big match once a year, so I'll compete in that one. This year we're hosting the state championship, which is great. So I'll compete in that, and that'll be a 4-day match. That'll be the first like state match, big match that I've been involved in. But I haven't gone really beyond that little radius. However, next year, since the kid's getting a little older, he's a little bit easier to travel with, and they're going to be moving EOT from Arizona, which isn't that far away from me, to Oklahoma, which is a little bit further from me. I convinced the wife that we're gonna go down to that one, so that'll be my first like out of state match. Probably will be end of trail next year.
Awesome. Yeah, they just recently had End of Trail, didn't they?
Yeah. Just a couple weeks ago was I think
Yeah.
last week of February. Sounds right.
Yeah. From what I heard, I guess from the people who went, they said it was pretty good. I've yet to meet anyone who said End of Trail was bad, but let me know if you heard anything different.
Yeah, I was like everyone that comes back from it always says they had a blast, and we have the world champion shooter for the women's division shoots out of our home club in Merlin. So it's someone coming back with world championship is pretty awesome too.
Yeah. And of course, you got all the stories too to go with it, so that's great. Um, as far as me, I've only been to a state match. I haven't gone to any regional or national matches. Um, I've done state with fast draw as well. So mostly just state and below is what I've done. Um, and you kind of touched on this. I may already know the answer to this, but I'll go ahead and ask you anyway. Are you ranked in any category, or have you ever been ranked?
Not really because I haven't done a state match there. So, but in the regular like club standings, I'm usually in the top half, and I'm approaching the top third. Depending on who else is there. Like when we have our matches. So starting near the bottom to going to a little above the middle in a few years. Feels pretty good. Hopefully, I get to say after May, it's like, oh yeah, Classic Cowboy, I'm ranked third in the state of Oregon or something like that. It's kind of where I'm going. But I've done some of the we have a few bigger matches that have been around, and I've done okay in some divisions. I have won the errant match due to category selection, which the win's a win, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I've never ranked. I don't have any buckles. I do get clean shooter pins every now and then. So that's kind of nice. I I have the one category or side match that I have gotten really close is the long distance. I almost, for our club, we had our yearly match a couple years ago, and I came in second place. Um, so it was great. Um, have you ever done the long distance, or what, any side
I
matches that you really like other than
I do
Plainsman?
the Wild Bunch side match, and then I'm gonna start doing the Plainsman. I haven't done any others just by virtue of I'm usually going up the morning of and driving back just to take care of my kiddo. So a lot of times the side matches are on a different day. So it's like, well, if it's not worth it for me to go up and back for it. But at the state match, I'm going to try to do as many things as I can do and have guns for. Is kind of the goal. So I will take some shots at some targets that are far away and probably miss them. Is what's going to happen there. But
Okay.
I like the idea of shooting them. I've got some guns to shoot them. What do you shoot for long range? Like a sharps or?
I have a Sharps. So there's several different, the beauty of cowboy action.
Yeah.
Everybody wants a buckle, so they create their own category. Um, I shoot in the I want to say precision sight class, which
Okay.
is you're using a vernier sight, usually open sights. They have scoped, they have precision, they have what they call BAM, bolt action military rifle. Um, I've shot bolt action military rifle and I've shot precision. Um, but I never placed in the bolt action thing. That was just kind of for fun. So to answer your question, what do I shoot for precision? I shoot my Sharps, which is a 4570. I want to say it's a 32-inch barrel. I haven't measured it recently, but I know some of them they really go out to like 34 inches. I
Yeah,
think is
yeah.
usually the
Do you put
longest
on
I've seen.
sticks or?
No, we shoot from the bench,
Okay.
and I'm sure they. It might vary by club, but at the state shoot they did it on a bench. I have a picture of that, and then um, at our club, they have a nice little bench shooting area. They go out to about 400 yards. And yeah, I mean, I've been pretty good with it. I had a lot of that's one place where I do have a lot of practice. But I have not like won a buckle in it or anything, but that's one of my goals. Um, but yeah, it's fun. We got a question from the audience. Jack Dorsey, and you may have already answered this, but you could talk about the other guns that you have if you want to. What sidearms do you use?
So predominantly, I use Ruger New Model Vaqueros. I've got a pair for Classic Cowboy because you have to shoot above 40 caliber. So I have a pair that are long barrel in the 45 Colt, but I have another pair in 38 357 that are I think they're 4 and 5/8 barrel. Kind of the common barrel that I shoot when I shoot traditional or V Western. And then in Wild Bunch, I shoot a 1911, and I have a very nice custom engraved actual, Colt 1911 that I got for my 40th birthday. I was like, I'm turning 40, I'm going to buy a gun. Seems like what I should do. I'm going to turn 44 this year, so I feel like I even know what caliber of gun I'm supposed to get me. Right?
That's great. Yeah, no, I was actually going to ask you because you mentioned the Wild Bunch side match. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about that 1911 because I've actually been getting into those. So what's other than you
Yeah.
said it's custom, tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so it's so they do. I'm trying to think where I purchased from, but they have ones that are akin to like it's like a performance center gun. Like so they have light and springs and light and trigger and everything's kind of made for the idea of it to going fast, but it's from Colt and it's what do I want to say? It's like nickeled, and then it's got like the ivory grips on it with the Colt medallion, and then there's a guy named Merlin Enright, Altamont, that does the engraving, and he's just like one of the master engravers of like 45s and things like that. So it was all custom engraving from him. And there's a I don't know, there's a show called Supernatural that one of the characters in the show that we might have named our kid after, he has a gun like this, so the engraving sort of matches his gun. And his gun in that show is the gun that was used in that 3,000 Miles to Graceland movie with all the Elvis impersonators. So I think it was Kevin Costner's gun in that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of a fun tie back to it. So it's just a pretty gun. I wish I could show it, but live stream and all.
Yeah, I got you. Well, you can send me a picture sometime. Um, but yeah, no, that's pretty neat. I do have a couple 1911s. I have three of them, but they're not custom. Um, and I want to shoot Wild Bunch, but I just never have.
Yeah.
I do have a Colt Classic Series, Model 70, Series 70, 1911. It is 45 caliber. I have a Llama 45, which is a Spanish 1911. And then I actually recently, and I recommend it, if you are into 1911s, is a TSAS came out with a 1911A1 variant, and really cheap, great gun. You know, I uh, I want to use that for the Wild Bunch actually, so that's my goal. But you would shoot in the modern category, right? Is that because there's two different
Yeah,
types?
yeah, and then you get to use the second hand on there. I find that the hardest thing I have with Wild Bunch is I'm just a weenie about dropping my mags. Like I'm like, oh no, I gotta take it out nicely instead of just drop it. So I feel like I'm always wasting time putting my magazine down nicely. So I just don't shoot it enough to like be like, oh no, drop it. So I try to practice that from time to time. The real fun a Wild Bunch though is you get to stoke your shotgun with the rounds for the stage, and I shoot a Model 12 in it, and it slam fires. So there's a slam
Yes.
firing a shotgun is a very enjoyable experience.
Yes, I was actually going to ask you what shotgun you use because I would imagine you wouldn't want to use an 87. You would
No,
probably you would probably want to use a 19 excuse me
97.
1897
Yeah,
or
yeah,
a
yeah.
Model 12.
Yeah,
So that's
I
cool.
was using a 97 just because I had one, and sometimes I would shoot that in Cowboy Action. I shoot my long guns left-handed, so the benefit for me for the 97 is most people, they have to go over the top and kind of put the shells in. Well, the window's just right there for me, so I just slap them in. It's kind of nice. But so I had that, and I was running it in Wild Bunch, and then I saw some of the other guys shooting the Model 12, and I was like, what's the advantage? And they're like, it's a little faster, and these guns are dirt cheap. And unlike the 97, you can find parts for them and things like that. So I was like, all right. And then happened to be at a gun show. There was one, and sure enough, it was pretty cheap. So I got it. It was very stiff, but took it apart, scrubbed some things, threw some lube in it, and now it runs decent. I don't do great in Wild Bunch or anything like that. I haven't crossed that into the top half of Wild Bunch shooters yet, but
Yeah.
I only do it maybe 3-4 times a year, but it's just a lot of fun.
If I remember correctly, I think the Model 12 actually holds one extra round. I'm not sure.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, I have fired a Model 12. That is pretty cool, and it does have that slam fire feature. Um, my 97 doesn't work as well as I would want it to, but it's one of my favorites. Now taking it apart, there's a reason why they call it a 97. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, all right. Um, we already talked about your category. We talked about your firearms. Okay, if you could only own one Western firearm, what would it be
Ooh,
and why?
that's such a tricky one. Now, would yours, just out of curiosity, be the 1860? I know, like that's like you're working on getting one of those.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, that's I always kind of come back to that 87 shotgun, which isn't like a traditional pick, but man, it's one that kind of making that connection, from Terminator, that it's like, oh, this is an old West shotgun, really opened up my thinking on a lot of different guns, and it actually got me into lever action rifles, which I enjoy shooting lever action rifles more than I enjoy shooting the lever action shotgun, but it's just something so cool about that lever action shotgun. So got to give it to the 87, but probably the one I shoot is in 12 gauge. I'd go old school in lever action 87 in 10 gauge as it's supposed to be.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's definitely a pretty good pick. I think as far as shotguns are concerned, I actually like hammer doubles.
Yeah,
Um, I
street howitzer.
have the yeah, I have a TTN. So it's really cool. really cheap as well. When I bought it, it was used. But yeah, I've got, speaking of the Henrys, I have the, God, I'm going to sound like such a snob. I've got the Uberti 1860. I also have the Henry repeating arms. So I love 1860s. I just think they're awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Any of the ones with like, they got kind of the brass in. Like I love shooting the 66. It's a gorgeous looking gun, like you said, boys and their pretty guns. It's like that's just nothing quite looks like it.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, what else here?
Well, I was thinking when you were talking about the 78, so I have a 78 hammered double, and I actually at one of the first bigger matches I went to, I was shooting Classic Cowboy, and the first time I pulled the trigger on it, I broke it. I don't know what exactly happened, but it wouldn't crack open, and I ended up having to borrow a gun. But one of the guys that was shooting with it was like, I actually work on these. I could fix it up. I could hone your barrels. I could despur your hammers. I could do all this stuff for you. It'll be good. And I was like, great, yeah, let's do that. So he fixed up the gun for me. He's getting ready to send it back, and he's going through, and he's like, oh, and I went ahead and I reversed your triggers for you. And I was like, oh, I shoot left-handed. He's like, I'll go ahead and
No.
unreverse those triggers for
Oh
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that modification only once, and it's pretty cool to watch. I don't know how anyone gets really accurate with that because it'd be just one right after the other. So it's like you would have to be in the process of moving before you pull
Yeah,
the
yeah.
triggers. So, but I've seen one person use it, and it, once again, I don't think they were that good with it. I think it kind of wasted a shot, but I could be wrong.
We got a guy I shoot with, and he teaches shotgun stuff. Like he's a shotgun instructor for like the 4-H or something. But his trigger pulls on his double, like it's like boom, boom. It's so fast, and I don't think I've seen him miss a shotgun target when doing that. But when I see him miss shotgun targets, is when he takes time to aim at them. It's just kind of funny. It's funny how those
Yeah.
work.
Do you kind of going on to the questions here? Do you do any other Western shooting sports? I know it doesn't sound like it, but do you do fast draw? Do you do NCOWs or mounted shooting or anything like that?
I don't, and really, it's a matter of we just don't have the access to do it, right? If we had fast draw anywhere near me, I'd love to do fast draw. They actually have like an intro to fast draw kind of tent or something at End of Trail, so I'm very excited when I go there. I'm like, oh, I'll get to finally try fast draw because I love that idea. I remember in the old arcades they would have that fast draw arcade game. And I love that thing. And there's something even like going back to like the martial arts stuff about, speed and reaction time. There's something just I really like about it. So I practice my fast draw at home sometimes, but I've never got to compete in it. But I would do that. And then I did kind of grow up on and around, a horse farm. So I always think about mounted shooting, but I don't have a horse currently. I got like a stick horse that my kid has, and I don't know that they let me compete with that, but I probably at some point would like to try that, but I don't know like how or what the means would be, but I'm game for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I guess you could create your own sport and
Yeah.
mounted stick shooting.
There we go. They have
Hey,
those hobby horse competitions. Maybe we're onto something.
yeah, but no, the if you get into fast draw, I mean, it's like you said, it's kind of hard to find them. Obviously, they're a lot smaller. Um, but yeah, I started doing that kind of the same time I started doing SASS, and the good news is that it's cheaper to do it because you're not shooting real ammo and you only have one gun. Um, the only other thing that's really expensive about it is, I'd say the leather. The leather is expensive. Uh, okay, we got one other question here. Steven says, what's the favorite part of Tombstone? What
Oh,
is
the
your favorite part
best
of
the
Tombstone?
best part of Tombstone by far, just the most chagrin and panaz someone can ever have is when Johnny Ringo is doing all the gun spinning and Doc Holliday takes out his cup and does the cup spinning. It's just so cool. I just love that scene. It's just like there's the most charisma. Just Val Kilmer just drips charisma at every part of that film. But that part is just it's just so badass by not being it's just so great. I love that. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that is a pretty good part. I think that, and then obviously the ending where he finally shoots him, is pretty good too. Uh, but yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Um, do you, and I know you said you started in it, do you participate in any modern three gun?
Not currently. The scene down here is apparently a little bit more welcoming than where I was up in Portland area before. But it's just like a time thing. It's like if I have time to go to the range, I want to do cowboy action. So I don't like anything enough to to shoot it. But I'll go to the range and shoot modern guns, periodically just because they're fun too. I'm not prejudiced. I like all guns pretty much. But I don't currently compete in anything. I'll look at Steel Challenge every now and then and be like, maybe I should do that. But then I just like, I'll just shoot another day of cowboy.
Okay. Well, I don't shoot any modern shooting sports. Thought about it, but I'm not sure. Um, so with that being said, obviously you've got more than just Western guns. So what is your favorite modern firearm and why?
That's a good question too. So I'll cheat and I'll give a couple answers. If you gave me a call and you're like, hey, I'm gonna we're gonna go to the range and I'll be at your house in 10 minutes. I'm just gonna go grab my AR because it's a great platform. It's cheap to shoot. I have many a magazine that it already loaded, and it doesn't matter kind of where we go. It's like, oh, we shoot targets close up. This will work. Shoot them a little farther out. This will work. Always fun to shoot. But
Nice.
I think my favorites are 9mm carbines. I just love like all the guns in movies that like the good guys had or the bad guys have that you're like, oh, that's a cool gun. I felt was like in that realm when I was watching films growing up. Like my Beretta CX4 is probably the best feeling gun to shoot. I've got the CZ Scorpion, which is another just a great looking gun. And then, you can go all the way back. I've got like a Tech 9. Don't worry about accuracy, but it's fun to pull the trigger on.
Hmm.
So those, but one other that I want to throw out there that I just love shooting so much is the Keltec KSG, that double tubed shotgun. It's just so fun. And Keltec, they make a lot of weird stuff that sometimes works really well, and their price point is usually pretty good. So I like them as a company.
Yeah. Does that firearm have any feeding issues or?
So it's funny because I feel like if you and I bought the same Keltec, one of us would say this gun I have no problems with, and the other one would be like, I'm going to throw this in the garbage. So my KSG runs wonderfully. It is I've never had an issue. It eats any ammunition I give it. It's great. I recently bought their PR-57. I can't pull the trigger more than twice in a row before I have to fix something. And it's just like, and other people have that gun and say it's great. I've never had any issue with it. So, it's just it's always kind of hit or miss. But I have heard that their customer support is really good, and I probably should just send them back my PR-57 and let them fix it. But part of me wants to fix it myself, and one day I'll take it apart again and try to do that.
Well, just a quick break here. St. Andrew TV says hello, fellas. Just
Oh, I
thought
know
I'd
that guy.
drop by and say hello. Yeah, he's been on the show before. Hello, Andrew.
What's up,
Let us
Andrew?
know how you're doing, and let us know what you got coming up as far as trick shots, because I know that's what he's really into. So thanks for dropping by. I would have to say, as far as modern firearms for me, um, I really like my AK. I do have one. It's a Century Arms BFT
Nice.
47. So it's got a little bit of a stronger trunnion. I do like 7.62 by 39. It's the caliber I didn't know that I could love. Um, but I have something about fat rounds are just short and fat are great. Hence the reason why I love Cowboy Action. I could have said something so bad, but I'm gonna leave that joke out. Um, but yeah, I love 30 cal. Um, I would have to say I have as far as carry guns are concerned, because I do carry. Um, I have two guns. One is a Smith and Wesson uh, Shield Plus, and honestly, I really think Shield Pluses are great. I thought they would be terrible, and they're not. Um, and I actually have it in probably one of the oddest calibers, which is a 30 Super Carry.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if you've heard of that round or have
Hmm.
shot it, but to me, it's a good round. So um, I can literally put probably about 17 to 18 rounds in that thing and carry it in my pocket. So that's why I have it. Um, but yeah, so cool. I already got that one. I don't know. We already covered your movie. If you could be one Western historical character, who would it be?
Ooh, I mean, it's hard not to say Doc Holliday, right? Just minus
Oh,
tuberculosis.
got it. Of course, because you're a dentist.
Yeah.
That's great. Um, yeah, geez, man, that is a tough one. I'm probably gonna screw this up because I've said I wanted to be many different historical characters. So if I tell you one, and then in a previous video I said it was
Wait
something
a minute.
else, people are gonna be like, "Wait, that's not your favorite," you know. But like I said, it's been 2 years, so I figure people can give me a little bit of grace. Um, excuse me. Um, I would say I kind of like hearing stories about Bat Masterson. Um, Maybe one of the Texas Rangers. Um, you know, Something like that. I do have an affinity for the Texas Rangers, and we can talk about that a little more. But you know, Jack Hayes or Walker, Samuel Walker, excuse me. Um, I just think it's kind of neat. But I guess I would like to be one of those guys, kind of one of those early frontiersmen, good guys. But
Be whoever the big iron on his hip song is actually about. I think that was an Arizona Ranger though, but
oh yeah, there's my son likes that song. He would make me play it incessantly, and so I do not listen to that song anymore. He ruined it. uh, so this has kind of could do a lot with the Western shooting sports, but at the same time, just in general, what do you think? Because a lot of us get into these sports not just for the firearms, we get into it just for the nostalgia. So, what is the most appealing part of the Western era to you?
hmm. I think there's something about like now how we're so like connected through social media and everything's digital and whatnot. I think there's something like with freedom and just the idea that you can move out west and start over and a man is in charge of his own destiny and those are kind of the stories that I like the most, or kind of those different things. And even like oh, the outlaw went over here and like started a new life, and then the old guy comes and tracks him down. So there's something that just about like the I don't know even know what to call that, but just how it's each town has like its own world, its own microcosm. If you moved to town over now, nothing would change. But if you moved, 50 miles away, in the old Western days, you'd have an entirely new life. So something that's kind of freeing about that, and something about like being in control of your destiny. I think is those are the things about the period that story wise and things like that I think I always gravitate towards. How about you?
Um, I think it's part of that. Um, man, definitely not the different diseases you could contract for sure. Um,
Oregon Trail, we're known for our dysentery.
that's a good game. God, it's weird to talk about that because now I feel old, and it just shouldn't be, you know. Um, the kids these days, right? Um, I would say probably just the fact of, you could essentially be anybody. You got stories of people that, they came up with whole different second lives, kind of along the lines of what you're saying, but just more or less like nobody really knows who you are. You can create yourself kind of things. And if it doesn't work out, you just go somewhere else and you can recreate yourself again,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
for good or for bad. But yeah, I think that's kind of neat. And I think a lot of it also has to do with the just getting through the tough times, just kind of an attitude about it. You made it through some of the roughest things you could imagine, whether it be disease, Indians, or whatever, marauders, and you survive that, and now you can survive anything. I think that's kind of something that's great too. Um, let's see. Do you do you read Western novels?
So when I went to doctor school, like like every day you had to read like 80, 90 pages of scientific literature, and it just kind of killed reading for me. So I haven't read anything in a long time. And the closest I would say I've ever got to reading like Western novels would be like Stephen King's Dark Tower series, like Roland the Gunslinger and things like that. But I'm not a big reader.
Okay. Yeah, I I don't read a whole lot of Western novels either. But there are some books that I have read because they're on historical topics mostly. I've read about the Alamo, to I think more than most, to be honest, more than I'd care to. And I would say I've read about Tombstone quite a bit. They actually just came. I don't know if you're into video games or anything like that. Are you? Kind
Ish.
of.
The
Well,
3-year-old really takes all the TV
I
time.
got you.
So, I'd like to be.
Yeah, the when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out back in 2018, I was really into that. And they actually have some guy did basically a parallel universe. Like, what was it like historically for the United States during the same time that Red Dead Redemption was going on? And he kind of talks about how the video game actually portrays those same events, but they're called different things.
Hmm.
And it's pretty good. It's
Sound good.
yeah, I gotta get you the name of the book. It's a good book though. Um, so yeah, I would say that's probably one of my favorites. Um, Now, kind of, I guess, getting into the more serious part of SASS, and maybe the most critical, what do you think could improve the Western shooting sport? And what would you do?
Well, the thing I think is tricky about, like, when you look at SAS matches or you read stages that are from like the 80s, when SAS like started out, there's a lot more action in the cowboy action. When we shoot out with the Umpqua regulators, sometimes they'll bring historical stages that were passed down. And this is like stages they shot in the 90s. And there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of up and down. There's a lot of this and that, a lot of interaction with props. And I think, SAS is, by virtue of wanting to expand, and they've done great expanding, they've had to kind of bring it in for a couple reasons. One, makes it more approachable to new shooters if there's less involved, and then two, the general population of SAS keeps getting older and older. We've got a guy that we shoot with out in Table Rock that is 92 years old. He can't do some of the stages that they were
Right.
doing in the 90s. So there's something in there that I'd love to see a way to incorporate some of the older, some of the more action stuff, some of the, there's, shooting positions from ones we've read where it's like you lay down and you shoot underneath the wagon and you get up to you do this. And it's like, I know that's not not really approachable to, you know, a 92-year-old shooter. And I don't know how they would make it where it's like, well, you shoot this here and this is a different category. But I'd love to see more action in the cowboy action. I think there's a lot of clubs that strive for that. I mentioned Umpqua Regulators. I love to shoot with them because they incorporate, like, there's at their big match, it's called True Grit. You shoot 4 pistols, you shoot 2 rifles and 1 shotgun, but they have a stage where you push a mine cart and then you shoot, then you push the mine cart some more and you shoot. And you know, they have one where you ride in a wagon and there's actually a guy on a lawn tractor that's pulling you down, but you know, you're on like a horse kind of shooting some different things. And they do a lot to really put some different ways to engage targets in there. And I love that. Makes your stage times get bad. It makes you miss a whole lot. And I know some people want to go, you know, ultra fast and they want to, you know, stay clean and whatnot. But I think those other elements are they're just so much fun. And I love that stuff. And I'd like there to be more of it. And I don't know exactly how that works, but luckily I don't have to figure it out. I can just say I want more of it.
Yeah, you don't have to be a match director or run anything like that. Run a club for crying out
Yeah.
loud.
Yeah.
So that's great. I guess if I were to answer that question, um, I think, man, I think it would just be having more people in it. Um,
Yeah.
I would just like to say, as you said, and as I have said, people are getting older. Um, there's, less than 100,000 people in the sport collectively, even though the badge numbers are really high. People like you are getting into it. People like me are getting into it. But at what rate is that? And so I would like to see the sport continue. And I hope to an extent that a younger generation is getting into it.
Yeah.
And just at least at the clubs that I shoot at, now I could be wrong, and maybe at the national and regional levels, we're seeing younger shooters, but I would like to see that,
Yeah, and I think that's you know, a lot of what I think both of us try to do is try to make you know, build an interest and, you know, kind of bring in some of those younger shooters. That's a big part of why I like to produce content. It's like, well, this is how I found out about it. You know, maybe I can get somebody else involved because otherwise people don't get involved and, you know, we don't have a sport anymore.
Right. Yeah, Booty Bandit, I don't know if you know who that is,
Oh, I
but
do. Yeah.
okay, well, it says I personally prefer stages that you have to move a lot.
Me too. And he's got a couple videos up. He does some shooting too.
Okay,
But yeah, another good shooter.
great. Awesome. Well, welcome to the channel, Booty Bandit. Thank you for tuning in. And then, do you see, I don't want to get gloomy about this, but where do you see the sport of cowboy action in the next 10 to 20 years? Do you think it's going to stay the same? Do you think it's going to grow? What?
You know, I think it'll grow. I think it's one of those things we're just in a weird period. But one of the things that I see happening, and I kind of hope happens, and it's not my job to make it happen, but I think it will, is they started shooting the Wild Bunch side match and eventually made it official because kind of the thinking was, well, when we started this, we were wanting to shoot guns that were 100 years old, and well, now the 1911, it's 2011, is 100 years old. Let's shoot it. And I get to thinking, well, the Thompson submachine gun came out in the 1920s and we're 2026. Like, you know, maybe another match develops that could build some interest and pull people into cowboy. I don't know if that's like a moonshine division. I don't know what you'd call it, but we do out in Table Rock. They came up with a Miami Vice shoot, which is cowboy action, but you can shoot anything that was on Miami Vice, which would be way, you know, further out. But it's like I could see you know, a division where you could shoot a Thompson, you could shoot, you know, a 12 gauge of that period, and a 1911 kind of a newer Wild Bunch, and maybe you put some of the actiony elements in, you get people into that, and then that back feeds into, you know, Wild Bunch and in traditional cowboy action. Because I think once you're there, it's just like, you know, going the other way. It's like, well, I'm already here. I might as well shoot Wild Bunch. I might as well shoot the side matches. I might as well try Plainsman. You know, if you get people in and another thing, it's like, well, maybe I might as well shoot Cowboy happens. I just want an excuse to buy a Thompson, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, you're not alone in that one. Um, but yeah, I want to say that in this area we definitely have something like that. I think someone did bring a Thompson out for it as well. But yeah, I'm sure they're going to add stuff. I think a couple years ago, and maybe I did a video on it several years ago. They were trying to bring in Garands, M1 Garands into it. Um, I don't know. So people who had M1 Garands could come out and shoot, and they were trying to make it part of long distance shooting. And I know that a little while ago they started introducing something called the Doughboy class or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah, where you could bring in 1903s and all sorts of stuff. Um, but yeah, I think like I said, I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago what what I thought Cowboy Action would end up being, um, I probably would say that it would go up. I think it has, in my opinion. Um, I don't know over the next 10 years if it's going to remain that way, though. But I'll be optimistic with you and say that it will.
I am
Um,
so optimistic. I did buy a lifetime badge this year. So
you know what? I was gonna ask you that. And what level of membership did you have? If you have a lifetime membership, that's hardcore, man. You're
yeah,
dedicated
yeah.
now. Um, yeah, I did buy a lifetime membership because I didn't want anyone else to take my alias. Um, and then plus I got tired of doing the whole renewal thing. And, at some point you're just in it for, you're a part of it. You might as well as just go ahead and go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah. And then I guess kind of one final question more on the content creator side, not necessarily cowboy action related, but could be. Um, what Since you've started your channel, have you received a lot of criticism about it, or
I
yes and
mean,
no, or
there's people that troll and things like that, and I try to just shrug it off or lightly engage with it in a fun way or whatnot. But it hasn't been too bad. I have gone through. I think when I first started, especially my short videos, where if I posted a stage of someone, they would get like 10,000 or more views like easy every time I posted one. And then since they've changed the algorithm, it is really hit or miss on if I have a video that I feel like anybody sees sometimes. So I try to supplement with, I have other interests in things. So I'm like, well, instead of making other channels, I'll just kind of keep it all on one. My thought process is, if my kid ever wants to be like, how did my father engage with his various interests when I was a child? Here's my YouTube channel, so you can see it. So there's different stuff about. I've got like we go hard for like Halloween and Christmas decorations, so we got reviews on those, and I try to do magic every now and then. So
oh,
I've got
okay.
some stuff like that. So a lot of just other content, but I feel like if that feeds the other, and then someone that wouldn't have otherwise seen a video about cowboy action sees it and gets involved in it, that's the point of what I'm trying to do. So it's been slow, but it's been steady and mostly positive. I actually am getting more, I think this year, people that are coming in and say like, oh, I started seeing your videos a couple years ago, and I was like, who is this guy that thinks he knows anything about cowboy action? And then I actually watched a couple, and it's like, oh, you're showing what it's like to be a beginner and kind of helping people out, and that's great, and I'm glad you're doing it. So it's nice to get a message like that every now and then. Feels good, and it's like, hey, I've seen that guy's name on the top of lists of great shooters, so it's kind of neat
Yeah,
to engage.
yeah. No, that's great. No, awesome. Well, those are kind of all my questions that I have. Are there any questions you have of me, or is there anything you want to talk about? We got about maybe, I'm willing to extend about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Um,
that works for me. I got to get to chores and such in a minute here anyway. But tell me about the 1860 and like how close you are. And that's well, I always kind of check in on your channel. I'm like, has he got that Henry yet? I'm like, I want to see it. It's quite the endeavor.
Yeah. So that's gonna take a while. I think, as you said, with the algorithm. So before I get into that, I kind of have to tell you a little bit about how my channel got as big as it did. Um, and it was when shorts were starting to be a really big thing, and I just made a couple. I made probably within the first 30 or 40 shorts that I had, I made one that just took off. And I want to say it lasted about 6 months, 3 to 6 months of just constant views. And you can still see the short to this day on my channel. It's got like 11 million views on it. But I got a huge amount of subscribers there. And so me being all excited about that, which I think is cool. I'm not downplaying the amount of subscribers I have, but it took me a while to understand that shorts viewers are different than other long form people. They subscribe for the immediate hit of dopamine, and then they may or may not watch your channel again. And so of the subscribers I got, how many actually like stick around or came back, I'm not sure. Generally speaking, whenever I post a video, it's about 50-50. 50 new, 50% are returning viewers. But generally speaking, the viewers are lower. So, and I think that has to do with the algorithm change. So where I'm going with all this is I thought that I would have a little more support for it because of that, and I don't. As much as I thought I would. So that's why I say it's going to take a while. And where I'm on it, I mean, I'm just getting started. I'm trying to like find an incentive for people because, so I'll be honest here, because I like being transparent. Um, I never want to hide anything from people, but the thing is, um, I had different ways of getting people to support the channel. Like you have Buy Me a Coffee, you have Patreon. Uh, if you have those, that's fine. I don't judge because I know people, they want to do this for a career, and that's perfect. That's how they do it. I started doing that, and I just found no one was really joining. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm providing value, and I got maybe one or two people to do it, and just over the last 5 years I haven't gotten much. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try something different. So I was like, well, what can I do that might be set me apart from other people? And so that's why I started the thing with the Henry. I'm like, well, if you do this, then we might be able to do like a giveaway or something like that. And so I'm adding in things like a cash prize giveaway and all this. And I'm hoping that people will see the value in it. Obviously there are people out there that are like, well, this is kind of shady. I'm like, look, you can do this, or you can go join me on Patreon. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think you're getting more for your value if you actually do this than if you do Patreon. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. So to answer your question, it's slow. It's going, but very slow.
Well, every drop in the bucket fills the bucket, right? So, just got to keep plinking away at it.
Actually, someone just brought up a comment here, not about that, but to me says you get that 73 rifle back together. That's
We were
what I was
talking about
telling you.
that. Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. And the answer is yes, I have. And I am sorry for taking almost 5 years to post a video on how to do it. So if it's still apart and you haven't gotten it back together and I'm the reason, I apologize. Hopefully we can square that away. So I'll give you a pointer here. Go ahead and watch the video backwards, and that's how you put it back together. So there we go. But yeah, thanks for the question. Anything else or?
It's just funny how sometimes like because I feel you do a lot of the same stuff I do. It's like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this thing, so I'm gonna film it for a video while I do it, and then you might get stuck in the middle somewhere and be like, oh man, is this now a terrible video or is this a great video because I have to troubleshoot it on the fly or whatever.
Yeah. Or do you do a lot of editing in the editing room, or are you kind of more of those
Ah,
people that, raw footage is that's what I want to show?
it depends on what the video is for. Like I have these videos that I'm trying to put out for like the various rules like violations for Cowboy Action. So I have one that's called like Mrs. P's and MSVs and stage DQs and match DQs and things like that. So I tried to make little scenes for each thing and kind of edit them to make it, look like, so you've got like, this is an example of this rule. This is an example of this rule. But other ones, it's like, well, my match footage, I just here's what I did on this stage, and I'll just kind of do a little quick recap of like this is what went right, this is what went wrong, this is what I'm thinking about for the next one, whatever. And I don't really I just kind of put that directly into my movie maker and then upload it from there. Don't touch it much at all. But just kind of depends on how much time I guess I have on any given day on how edited and polished I can get something.
Mm. Booty Bandit has a question for you. How are you liking the flat trigger? I just ordered one.
Oh, dude, I love it. It is so good. I just shot a match last week or the week before that has footage of it, and I'm actually it pulls so nicely. I've been getting a couple ADs on it because as I'm moving, usually my trigger pull goes off here, but now it's going off a little bit quicker. So I'm catching up to it, but it is definitely improved my stage times just from putting it in. Like it's great. I think if that is an upgrade that you have the ability to do, definitely do that one. I think it'll help. And I have a video on putting it in the 73. That's kind of an easy sort of half disassembly video to do it.
Now, this is kind of a interesting, interesting question about how many man hours you think you put into that 73. Because I can
Oh,
tell you how much I put in mine.
man, that's I have no idea because the 73 or before that the 66. I try to dry fire practice every day. So then I'm also tinkering with things, adjusting things. Like it's like, okay, is something catching here? Should I change the screw? Should I do this? So and extrapolate that over a couple years. So I have no idea, but a lot.
Oh yeah. No, see, so I took one of my 73s. I have two U-Birdies and I have the Moroku, and one of my U-Birdies I modified it like out the wazoo. So everything that you could imagine upgrades, it got it. And it took me, I think, a week to do all the upgrades.
Oh
So,
yeah,
because I did them all,
easy.
yeah, I did them all myself. And it didn't work the first time I went out and took it to a stage. I'm like, I had to work out the timing and all that stuff. It was like I kind of screwed it up, and I had to take parts, put them back in, and um, and I'm like, wait a minute, I want this to work 100%. The upgrades need to work. They can't,
Yeah.
like, I can't piecemeal it, and so yeah, I mean, it took me a while. That's just me. One more question we'll get from the audience here, and then I think we'll call it a day. Central Ohio Cowboys says, any issues with getting flagged YouTube for working on the I assume while working on the firearms.
Yeah, so YouTube has some policies that you really have to follow directly, and they won't like prevent your video from going up, but they'll either reduce the monetization or they won't allow it to be monetized. So I have a video on the Rossi 92 where I go through like every upgrade that you can possibly do to it, and it's like how to make an entry level gun that you can get for kind of cheap, run okay in Cowboy Action. So I think it's a positive way to do it. And it is one of those ones that is one of my most viewed videos, but is flagged for monetization. So,
Oh.
I don't make anything off it, but I think it's important content and it's good content. So it's like that one I have an issue with. And then the only other video on my channel that I think they have so much of a problem with it that no one has ever seen this video, because even though it says that it's on my channel, it has like 4 views. I go through, we took 80% lowers through to full builds on ARs, and just kind of, it's a conversation about like that process and how it's different in different states. And it's kind of an educational video, but they don't like it. So I've seen it,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
Yeah, you want to know something funny about that whole flagging situation. So I do a lot of take aparts, takedowns on my stuff. Not a single one of them has been flagged. However, the one video I have flagged is about a knife. That's it.
I have a flagged video that's about a goose. And I have no
Why?
idea why, but I think it's funny, so
Oh.
I haven't asked them to review it.
Yeah. So it's just funny the way YouTube comes up with. But anyway, everybody, just want to let you know, thank Dry Socket for coming on to the channel.
Thanks for having me.
Also, be sure to subscribe to his channel down below in the description section. Take a look. And we really appreciate his time coming on out. And I think we're going to go ahead and say goodbye until next time. So thank you
Sounds like a
all.
plan. Take care. Thank you so much, Slick. Appreciate this.
Yeah, no problem. And